With the major downward revision we just got in the job market over the past year, with over 900,000 fewer jobs created than originally thought, a lot of people have also been losing their jobs due to the layoffs. And when they do, they see that there's hardly any opportunities out there left because things are not nearly as good as we're being told. So today I want to talk about how people who are unemployed are getting by right now and essentially paying the bills without having a full-time job. Here's a story about a man that has been now laid off for 14 months, okay? That just goes to show you like the scale of this also. Like people lose a job. You know, he got notified back in January of 2024 that he was going to be losing his job as of March of 2024. And since then, he's been unable to find a new one. And he says he began looking for work and he never applied for unemployment benefits. He thought, well, I got the experience, I have knowledge, I have transferable skills, somebody will want to hire me. And then the reality set in that it was far tougher to find a new job than he ever expected. And by the way, behind me here is Belvedere Community Park, and I'm going to be walking down San Rafael Avenue here in a minute in Tiburon. So just like everybody else who's in this situation, he says he's now applied for hundreds of jobs. That's not unique. And he's also expanded his search to various different types of jobs that maybe he wouldn't think about applying to before just to get worked. He says he's even worked with 3 job coaches and he's tapped into every single networking resource he can think of, but he's still struggling to find work. So right now, the way that this guy is getting by is he's doing a few things all at once. He is simultaneously cutting his costs, he's doing gig work, and he's picking up odd jobs. But each month, he still has to try to figure out how he's going to cover the bills because all these sources of income are not guaranteed and they fluctuate quite a bit. Now, the first thing is cutting costs, okay? When you first get laid off, people say, oh, just go on vacation, take a break, you know? But he was smart and he said, you know, I don't know, I'm unemployed, I need to get a job. And luckily he got a few months of severance pay, which is becoming increasingly more rare these days as well. And he says even though he's done okay financially over the years, savings are not unlimited, and he's also worried about his Cobra health insurance ending by the end of this year. So to save money, his family has cut back on the extra expenses. They've scaled back on spending wherever they can. They have dropped the TV subscriptions like Netflix and Apple TV, and they stopped giving gifts for anniversaries and birthdays. They also say that they've been shopping more carefully when they go to the grocery store. No more name brand anything, just generic and as cheap as possible. He's also able to do some of his own car maintenance, which includes changing the brake pads on one car and replacing the thermostat on another. And he said just a little bit of knowledge from YouTube saved us hundreds of dollars. And on a little side note, I hope that the things I go over here on this channel can not only save you hundreds of dollars, but potentially thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime if you're willing to listen to some of the things I talk about here when it comes to saving money as well as investing and making sure you don't get burned in the housing market. Those things alone, guys, when you combine everything, can make the difference between whether or not you end up a millionaire one day or you're struggling forever living paycheck to paycheck. Now, another thing he's doing is what I recommend everybody do in this situation is he's picking up side gigs. He says he's been helping a friend with his business, sending marketing emails and getting a small commission on any sales. It's not much, but every little bit helps. He's also been driving for DoorDash a few hours in the evenings, and his goal is to earn about $20 to $25 an hour when he's doing that. But there are nights when it just doesn't happen, and he only earns around $15 an hour. He also is doing odd jobs, fixing decks, changing out ceiling fans, helping friends move, doing yard work, even helping a buddy build saunas for his business. I mean, this guy is really moving, man. He's hustling to try to make some extra cash, and I really respect that. He says, while I sometimes help out for free, friends often pay me because they know I'm trying to stay afloat. And recently, he landed a part-time job at the Lenovo Center in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is basically one of those big arenas, and he's part of the changeover crew helping reset the arena between the events. And it's a lot different than anything he's done before, but he's grateful to have the work. He's also not making anywhere close to the low 6-figure salary he had in his last job, but he's doing what he can to get by. And I think so many people need to understand this right now because number one, if you're not in that situation, consider yourself lucky. I know I certainly do. And I am thankful every day that I don't have to live paycheck to paycheck anymore. But if you are in this situation, you have to recognize that you are far from alone, first of all. But if you want to dig yourself out of it, you kind of have to go to these extremes. You know, this is how unemployed people are making money right now. This is how they're getting by. You have to hustle. You have to have 5 or 6 different balls in the air right now, trying to juggle everything. He's also been working with job coaches who have reviewed his resume and told him to incorporate keywords from the job description into his cover letter. He also met with the church's monthly career ministry meetings. Some of the job coaches say to put in the years you worked for the past employers. Others say don't list the year you graduated from college. Some say you get your resume down to 1 page. Some say 2 is okay. But what he's found that makes the biggest difference are the face-to-face meetings at job fairs or networking events. And that goes back to what I'd mentioned a couple weeks ago, like everything with all of these online job applications and everything that's going on with that just needs to be completely scrapped, okay? Everything for hiring needs to go back to in-person. You want the job, you need to show up for an in-person interview. You're an employer, you want somebody to show up to work, you want to hire the right person, make sure you're doing in-person interviews. Meet the people, get their vibes, feel them out before hiring them. All this online nonsense and using AI to create resumes and review resumes and never actually seeing a person is just insane. And clearly, it's not good for anyone. It's not good for employers, and it hasn't been good for employees either. And that's why some of these job coaches are telling him, well, you got to have the right keywords in your resume because otherwise the AI platforms that sift through all these hundreds or even thousands of resumes are not going to flag you as a potential candidate if you don't have the right keywords in there. I mean, this sounds like, you know, putting together a blog post back in 2008 when you had to have all the right keywords in the post. Otherwise, you wouldn't be found on Google, guys. Like, this is just stupid. And that's how people are supposed to get a job right now. So now he's looking at a potential for retirement coming sooner than later with how bleak things are looking with the job market. He says, I've always considered retirement in the distant future, but I've started wondering if I could ease into it by continuing to work various odd jobs. And because he's not ready to fully retire yet, he says he's going to keep applying for different roles that seem interesting or align with his skills. But after struggling for 14 months to find full-time work, he's accepted that the part-time opportunities might be all that's out there for now. And the thing is, think about it. Like, if you're kind of forced early into retirement, he's probably lucky if he even has anything to retire on at all, which it sounds like he does, because a lot of people don't even have that. But let's say he does. His retirement is not going to be fun. Think about it. This guy is doing all these odd jobs I just told you about just to get by right now, just to stay afloat and pay the bills. And then you're going to ease yourself into retirement. You're not really going to be retired. You're just going to be doing all these odd jobs while dipping into your retirement accounts is what you're going to be doing. You know, that's not really retirement. That's getting by, in my opinion. When I envision retirement, I always think of people sitting on a porch doing nothing, or every time I've been to the villages and you see the retirement communities there and people golfing all day, kayaking, going to workout classes, swimming, doing whatever they feel like it because they don't have to go to work anymore. That's retirement, okay? Working odd jobs and doing gig work in between withdrawals from your 401k is not retirement, guys. That is getting by, unfortunately. We need to reframe what retirement actually means here.